from Masters in Material Science and Engineering from UT Dallas. And my undergrad is in chemical engineering. So that's from India. And I worked for like close to 4 years in IT industry as both software developer and tester there. And then like I moved to the US and I couldn't continue working because of the EAD issues because I was on H4. And then I couldn't continue working. And then like I pursued masters here in the US after coming here. And then I'm looking for job opportunities in any of the industries like biomedical or automobile or electronics, anywhere like where I can make use of the material science knowledge that I've gained from my masters.
And so let's talk about your question. So what problem you are facing then?
So I've been applying to like various positions, like whatever entry level positions that I'm like coming across from with the companies. But like the resume is not getting picked at all. It's not even going up till the interview stage. It's like they say like they've moved on with other candidates, and they're mainly looking for people with experience. They're not giving a preference to like candidates with zero experience. Yeah. So I'm not sure what to do.
Okay. So let me ask you, when did you graduate?
December 2022.
And do you have a green card or do you need visa?
No, I have, I'm on H4 EAD and like, I'm in GC EAD. So we are yet to like, get the green card.
But it's in process, right? So you are
green card is in the process.
Okay. But so if you have EAD, I think the green card shouldn't take more than 2 months or 3 months, right? You should get it.
We were supposed to get it like last year, December, but again, like the priority date retrogressed. So I think it's going to take a couple more years because we are in the EB2 category.
So that means you don't have EAD. So that means you need visa to work, right? If I'm not wrong.
No, I mean, I'm on H4 EAD. Like, I mean, it's like I've come under the GC EAD category now. So like the company doesn't have to sponsor exclusively for me. I can renew it on my own.
So do you have your husband or somebody?
Yes.
So you are on dependent H1B. That's what it is, right?
Yes.
Okay, got it now. Okay. And okay, so let me ask you, what's your typical experience has been through application, like applying for jobs? So do you have a location constraint also there?
Location constraint, yes, because
location constraint, city constraint. I believe you would prefer job in and around Dallas, right?
In and around Dallas, yeah.
So you can understand how narrow your search area is, right?
Yes.
Okay, so let me ask you this question: have you applied to a company irrespective of location?
Yes, I did. Yes, I have.
You did that too. Okay.
Yeah. So I want to know, like, what kind of, if at least for the early career jobs, like, what kind of positions can I, like, rely upon so that, like, I'll at least my resume will be picked and, like, at least they'll be ready to interview me at least. Like, it'd be better if I get at least the interview experience, right? Like, because so I'm not sure if I'm like going on a right path.
I mean, one thing I have to say, I was looking at your CV, right? So your bachelor's is in chemical engineering. Then you did environmental law stuff, looks like, and then you did master's in materials.
Yes.
And so my question to you, let me ask you this question. If I have to ask you, what would be the company and what would be the role that best describes you? What would be your answer? So, for example, I will give you my example. If I have somebody ask me, I would say a research scientist working on high temperature materials for space. That's how I would, it's a one-liner for me that pitches my resume, right? So if I have to ask, and then based on that, I can tell you list of companies. I can say Lockheed, I can say Raytheon, I can say Boeing. No, I can say all those things. If I have to ask you that question, can you give me an answer, or it's confusing for you?
No, I can give an answer.
Go ahead.
A material science engineer who wants to pursue a career in like biomedical companies, in the manufacturing or research or the quality, like, in that field.
And do you know the name of the companies?
Yeah.
Some of them, like you said, if I get a job here as a biomedical engineer, that would be so good, right? So what would be those?
There are a few companies like Abbott,
Yep.
Alcon,
Hmm.
Stryker, and Johnson and Johnson,
Metatronics,
Medtronics, and
Medtronics, right? Okay,
Medtronics. Yeah.
okay. So that's good, right? So you know what you are looking for. So that is clear to you. So that's the good news. Okay.
Yes, but then but I'm also applying to other industries as well, like automobile, where I can use my material science knowledge in automobile and semiconductor and other electronic companies and such. But eventually, like I want to pursue my career in by my medical
Yeah,
industry.
right. So, so I will tell you, Shruti, a couple of things here, right? One is since you are looking for an entry level position,
Yes.
right? You have to understand the people who go to entry level positions, they are hardcore in their knowledge. Let's say, for example, if somebody is going to hire me, is not going to ask me, can you write a code, which you have done probably at Wipro, but they probably would look for me like as a program manager where I can manage a project, right? Can make a strategy chart, which is like a bogus work, the actual
Mm.
work. So my question to you is, if you are saying that I'm applying for semiconductor and all that, you as a person need to understand the people that go there as entry level, they are hardcore. They know nanofabrication. Do you know that? So my what I'm trying to tell you is, if you are applying for those sort of a job, it
Mm-hmm.
may you may not get a response right away because your CV doesn't say anything like that.
Okay.
But if you're see, let me ask you, the way this whole thing works um, in US, especially in core sector, is your HR is you found a job, right? And you submitted your application or CV or cover letter. HR, who has no idea what biomedical is looking for those keywords that the manager has asked him to do or her to do. And there are 400 jobs applicants, at least in today's amazing job market,
Mm.
right? And then just imagine where your CV will rank. And the reason I'm trying to tell you is, you are the third or fourth person I have spoken this week only, and
Mm-hmm.
everybody is looking for a job. These students, one is the Bangladeshi student who just graduated from Clemson, one is the student from Rice University who is just finishing her PhD, one person from University of Michigan, system engineering, and then there are other person. And this is just this week only. And I talk
Mm.
to students every week. My answer to you would be is, and I say this all the time, and with my experience, like say for example, getting a job in India is different because you get campus placement and all that happens, right? So you don't go through the process of finding a job. Nobody goes through, at least in my knowledge. But in US, there is no campus placement. Here you are looking for a job, so it's become a real struggle. It then is, unless until you are a graduate from MIT or someone, everybody is at the same level. And then on the top of that, you have to look for visas and all those complicated situations. And I have gone through those process. Everybody goes through that process. It's a very common story. And actually, it's a very common story. Um, I mean, I'm glad that you have done your masters. If I would have given you a piece of advice when you came here and thought of what should I do, I would have said, unless until you are really passionate about material science, do masters in computers or something. That would have been my recommendation.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, that's a story apart. That's a separate topic. My only advice to you is when you are applying for a job. See, one thing will happen, and I don't know if that happened to you or not. It is very easy for a manager or a recruiter who is interviewing you, especially at an entry level position. And if they are looking for someone who has a material science background, to identify in two questions whether you have a knowledge or you don't. And let me tell you, masters in US, especially in US universities, completing a master's is, I would say, 10 times easier than doing undergrad in India.
Mm.
It goes like this. And I don't, I have done my master's in civil engineering. I don't even remember actually what I did. You understand my point? So what happens is, I don't know whether you can make a connection between what you did in your undergrad, what you learn in your masters, and make out something where you can figure it out. This is where I'm strong at. You have done chemical engineering. There is a very strong connection between what you study in your chemical engineering plus what you do in your masters. If there is a correlation, I would say that and then you can figure it out. Okay, what that could be for a company, what that job could be for a company. I would say that would be your strong pitch. That's number one. Number two, I always say that all the time, as degrees has no meaning. The actual thing is, what have you learned and what you know.
Mm.
So for example, let's say for example, if you um, if you know how to run fluid mechanics code or a finite element structural engineering code using ANSYS, and you're really good at it. Doesn't matter you are in material science, civil, mechanical, aerospace. Everywhere they do it. It's the same thing. That strength can make you marketable to find a job in any sector, right? So what does that mean is, let's say you have a very generic CV which tells you that I am Shruti and this is where I went. I am a material scientist because somehow I had a master's in material science and engineering. That makes me a material scientist. That's fine. But number two CV could be where you can say, this is what I have done. This is my core strength. This is what I know. And I'm marketable at no matter what industry it is.
Mm.
And I think you have done a lot of things, to be honest with you. I mean, you have graduated in chemical engineering. I'm pretty sure you'd learned something there. 4 years of Wipro, you would have teach you way lot.
Mhm.
And then your masters or whatever you did after that, you learned. So as I said, try to pick out your strength from there. You know, and to be honest with you, unless until you are really passionate about. So let me ask you a question. You want a job or you want a job as a material scientist? That also a question that you need to ask,
Yes.
because I think you can get a job. I have no doubt in my mind that you cannot get a job, especially at 4 years of Wipro, and there are so much work out there. If you're not looking for a visa, there is a tremendous amount of work there. And I don't know what work you did in Wipro, but a similar kind of work is available in US, and there are people who are looking for people like that, and that's a good thing because you can do that type of work sitting at home. But if you say no, I want a job as a material sciences, or
Mm.
what's the point of me doing this masters, right? If
Yes.
that is
That,
the thing you have, right?
yes.
Then my strong advice is find what's your strength here. What did you learn, right? Just by writing, I'm a material science, and then the recruiter looking, you have something called law there, you have something called chemical engineering there. It confuses them.
Mm.
Because your CV is fine, but it doesn't say like what did you do, what is Shruti good at? It doesn't say that. If I look at it, one thing I realized, and as I said, so and one thing also is like when you applied for biomedical jobs, did you try to look somewhere outside Texas, or the Texas was the only place that you looked at?
Texas was the only place, but I did apply to a couple of positions in the California and yeah.
Because one of the things you have to see that I think if I'm not wrong, the East Coast is very heavy on biomedical, like New
Yeah.
Jersey
Mm.
area. So try to look there too. Um, what else? I mean, one thing also I would say is, let me ask you: did anybody mention to you about, or you reached to a point where they talked about whether you will need a visa or not?
Actually, when I was in my last semester of masters, like I did land an interview with Toyota because there was a job fair in the university. So when
Hmm.
I submitted the resume, they did get back to me very soon, and they even scheduled an interview.
Hmm.
But on the day of the interview, they learned that like I was on H4 EAD, and they wanted candidates only with green card or US citizens. So that's how they didn't even interview me.
Yeah.
And few positions do have that requirement that they need only US persons. So
Yeah. No, no. But what I'm saying is, I will also tell you one thing is like not everybody. So the visa situation in US is very bad. Nobody knows what it is. Like I'm saying employer wise.
mm,
Unless until a company is really big and they are very clear about that, like Toyota or anybody, they will tell you. Otherwise, if you go to a company which is a small company, they have no idea. They will say yes for everything and end up in a very bad situation. And then it has happened to me when I was looking for a visa. And so, and what the reason why I'm saying that this H1 H4 thing is very new in US.
yes.
Yeah, it makes it much more confusing. Uh, if I was you, I would probably use my OPT. If I
Uh,
don't know whether you can or
no,
not.
no, I can't because I did my master's with being on H4, so I don't have that OPT
Oh,
uh,
okay.
thing line up.
You didn't apply for F2 F1 visa or things
F1,
like that.
no, 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 I didn't apply for F1. So would OP now I cannot change it because I'm past that stage, so I can't.
I can't answer that
Yeah,
because
yeah.
what happens is everybody knows about OPT. See, I'm trying to just understand how to make things simpler.
So, yeah.
Because the more complicated you're gonna make, because what happens is, let me tell you, there are 10,000 students, let's say graduates in US every year. These 10,000 students, everyone gets OPT.
Mm,
Most of them, at least, unless until they are citizens or whatever.
mm, mm.
If you're one of those people, it's gonna confuse the recruiter,
Yeah, yeah.
right? So when you said when did you graduate?
December 2022.
December, or this been almost 6 months now.
6 months. Yeah.
You try to do one thing. Try to talk to the what you call international office at Dallas. I don't know what
Mm-hmm.
do you call it. I forgot the name.
The
The
consulate?
no, 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 the consulate, the international in the school, the international student affair office. That's what
Uh-huh.
it is.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
That's what it is, right? International.
yeah.
They are the one who are responsible for issuing F1, not F1. The 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 actual paperwork that you
Mm,
take to consulate and you get your visa. And these are the ones also responsible for issuing OPT.
mm,
Try to talk to them is that can you apply for OPT?
okay.
Just talk to them. I am not very hopeful, but see what they say. Um,
And I
because
had one more question.
well,
Because this will be my first ever job in the US, so is it like fine, to get a job in any industry for the first job and gain that experience? Because once I'm in the job market, it'll be easy to switch from, because
yeah,
I
but
would have gained some contacts and some
yeah,
experience and skills and then move to a job which I actually eventually want to. For example, now I want to pursue my career in the biomedical industry. So, but since I need to gain some, at least some skills, because some experience, I can, maybe if I can get some position in automobile or like semiconductor, anything like that, and gain some experience, and then eventually move to a biomedical after gaining some kind of considerable
so
experience kind of.
so I will tell you one thing is your first job becomes your career
Mm,
industry wise. Let's say, for
mm,
example, somebody. So let's say if I want to get a job in Apple now, which is a consumer sector, that to electronics, there is no way I can get it. That's my point. Even though I'm a material scientist, but that's a space sector. That's a totally different ball game. It's a defense company. It's a government thing. It's a totally different thing. You understand my point? So I always say choose your job carefully.
mm,
It's always okay to say no, because what happens is usually down the road after 10 years. I mean, I will give you a very good example, and this will probably make it more clear. I work for Lockheed, which is a defense sector. There are close to 100,000 employees in Lockheed, and maybe 80,000 or maybe less than that, 60,000, let's say in US, right? I across that 60,000, and I have been here in 3 4 years. I don't know anyone who is a first generation immigrant working for this company.
mm,
I am only one of the few people, very few, maybe 0.0001%. And I will tell you the reason is very simple. Because by the time an international student graduates, he or she is scrambling for a job, because otherwise you have to leave the country, right? So
mm,
you pick something that you want. Once you pick it, and then you apply for citizenship, then you apply for, sorry, green card, and then citizenship. It takes another 10 years. So by the time you get your green card, you are almost 40. Okay.
yeah,
And at 40 years, working for different sector, there is no way you can get into a defense company or even NASA or anywhere. So you will find a lot of Indian working at NASA who are 60 years old, because that's a different day.
mm,
But that's a very simple reason. I mean, we interviewed a lot of folks, and the reason why I was able to do it, because I worked at National Lab after that. I was still working on national security. A lot of things happened, and the transition was easy. Once I got
mm,
my citizenship, I get in. But then, as I said, it was a treacherous path. My friends were making 100 to 120, 130, and I was making way less money at that time. So my point here is it really becomes very difficult for anyone to say, let me pick something and then after 5 years I will move. It doesn't work that way. I have a friend actually who works for the oil sector. Actually, he works in Houston. He lives in Houston, and he graduated from Michigan, and we were together. And I talked to him a lot of time, and I tried my best to get him interview here and all that, just because his background was in oil and gas sector, and he, trust me, he knows more about materials than me. It was still difficult.
mm.
So choose that carefully.
Is it also becoming a problem because my resume is not getting picked because I have a huge career gap, because I've lost, because I have a
I,
gap
I
of 10 years with
10
neither
years. No, I
gap.
mean, I mean, US. I don't think that is something that is looked upon.
Okay.
I don't think that is the case. Yeah, one thing is for sure is, you made probably a good point, is they will view you as an experienced person, but then you're applying for a entry level position. There's a mismatch there,
Mm,
because as a person who graduated 10 years, after undergrad and worked, right? So you can fairly say I have undergrad plus 6 7 years of experience. For someone to look for an entry level position, that may be challenging. And one thing also I will tell you is that's the reason I said. So, for example, if you have done your degree in computer science, or if you have a which would have been complementary based on because you work in a Wipro, that probably made more sense in my brain. Or probably if you have chosen a very arbit general degree like an MBA, that would have been no question at all. That's for sure. But because you choose a specialized degree and then you are looking for, so here's the thing, they are looking for someone at introductory level who can work in a lab and do actual stuff, right? Hands-on stuff. Are you good for that? Plus, they are looking for someone whom at your age probably is experienced and manage a team and can make a decision. Are you good for that? Right? So that but still I would say that I know actually in few people who are much older than me and are working at a lower grade level, if I have to say that. I don't think that is the case. I, 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 I will give you a very specific example. When I went to college, there was a assistant professor who, because of some reason, had they have to lay that person off. And then when I joined this company, I realized she was working this company at a 2 grade level lower than me.
Mm.
And she was assistant professor when I was a PhD student. So she's at least 10 years older than me. So I don't think that is the case in general. But
So, but what I meant was like I haven't done anything in that like 7 8 years in the gap, like not studied anything or work or nothing. Like it's been idle.
but that's how a lot of stories in US are. I mean, US is a very
Okay.
different way. I don't think this is, but I think this is a very typical, I would say, Indian mindset where they say, "Oh, gap year," right? They value that a lot, and I think coming here, I also had that in my mind. What I'm gonna say, but there are a lot of people in this country where they say, "Hey, I was a home mom, and my students, my kids, they graduate, and then I decided to go to school, and I'm looking for a job." It's considered very valuable. My actually two aunts are like that. They both are working now after both of their kids went to went to college. They started working 2 3 years back. So
Okay.
I don't think that is looked upon here. I think, uh, and again, as I said, when you talk to a recruiter, you can make this, the way you say it, you can make it quite inspirational also, and do it for that matter, because it doesn't matter. I mean, uh, there are people who realize at 50 that I want to go to college. Doesn't mean that they shouldn't be working. And in the US, you don't get that sort of a discrimination. I don't think that's the case. Yeah.
Okay.
But when you tell somebody, you should tell them that this is, because one of the things that recruiters in US, when they talk to candidates, they want to see, everybody, you have a material science degree, the other person is, what is different you
Yeah.
you are offering, right? So you can point that out, that even I was not in school, I decided to go to college because I was determined. And then I went to college. It was tough for me because I was out of college for so long, right? And then I decided to go to school and get back to a job. I think it's an inspirational story in that sense. So it depends on how you say it. But in general, I think you should not be worried about saying that, oh, gap year or not, or so on. And then a couple of things I will summarize because we're going to be out of time soon. Is, if you see a job, okay, and this is a very important thing. If you see a job, let's say if you see a job in a company that you like and you like the job, give it 3 4 hours before you just upload your resume. Even if you have to make your new resume, do it. Okay. I will tell you a very very important secret here. You remember when they post a job, they say basic qualification, preferred qualification, desired qualification. Your
Yes.
CV should be a copy of that.
Mm.
So I will give you an example. Basic qualification: bachelor's in Chemical engineering, check. Leadership experience, your CV does say anything about leadership? Check. Have worked in fabrication lab. Have you done anything like that? Yes, check. This is how you get a job, and this
Mm.
is how I have been successful in the job. If I felt this is the job I want, this is what I know, and this is it felt to me, and I want this job, then I don't think it ever happened that I have applied and even I applied, I didn't get the job. And I'll give you an example. Rolls Royce, same thing. I worked for, as an engineering software company, same thing. Lockheed, same thing. And even though and then I got a job at NASA, same thing. I was sitting with my friend. We were in a conference at Pittsburgh. I saw that job in LinkedIn for NASA, and I told my friend, I said, I think I will get that job. I was that confident because I knew what they are looking for. Everything matches. Actually, it matches the location also. Because
Mm.
where I live, NASA was a half an hour drive. I said, for the recruiter, it doesn't make sense to hire someone from Dallas, right? So what I'm saying is, it should be copy. And once you have that, then you have to be careful about how I'm applying, because then you can't rush in,
Mm.
right? So just have a CV and uploading. Everybody does it sitting in their room. Everybody has 24 hours, and that's what I'm saying. Applying job in US is a very different ball game. It's not like India. So just be careful. And then another thing I will tell you. Let's say, for example, you found a job in Abbott, which probably has nothing to do what you want, but you still applied for it. The HR sees it. Let's say tomorrow the next job comes in, and you're like, oh my God, this is what I want. This is exactly what I know. And you apply for it. HR is not going to look for your CV. So the lesson here is, if you like a company, be careful about applying for a job,
Mm.
because they are not going to see your CV again and again and again and again. It doesn't work that way. Once they see it, you're out of the system. So be careful. And that's one of the things. What happens is, when you start applying for a job, you will see initially it gets picked up quickly, and then it goes down. Then, like, you're not even getting a call, and it happens very, 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 very often.
Mm.
So just be careful. And then
Okay.
third thing I will tell you, these are not so good times also, right? You are seeing the jobs market is slow, and I won't say that this has never been the case. I graduated when the housing market crashed in 2008. I graduated in 2010. There was no jobs. I was out of. I had no interviews. At least you got one interview at Toyota. I had no interviews actually, but you somehow survive, right? You, because I had a PhD, I can do a postdoc. I did that. I did that for 3 4 years. But then during that, I applied for green card. That helped me to do that, and then life moved on. So that's also a lesson.
Mm.
You have to be persistent, right? Don't lose hope.
Yeah.
And if you have to make multiple CVs, where one says Shruti as a chemical engineer, second CV Shruti as a mechanical engineer, sorry, materials. Other says Shruti as someone who is environmental engineer, because you have done something, you know about stuff. There is a lot of environmental companies out there who are looking for people like you. There is one says Shruti as someone who knows um, IT stuff, because she has been in a Wipro. Bang on. Have 5 6 CVs, and then go to Indeed and see what you find, and then whatever is relevant, do it.
Mm.
And as I said to you, it's just a matter of time.
Yeah.
Yeah, unless until your visa thing, as I said, gonna make it more complicated. My piece of advice would be is, if you can, if you can make it less complicated, it will serve you well. The
Great.
more you gonna indulge HR, H4, and this, trust me, this is the stack. It goes like this. Make it less confusing. It's a, you know, जैसे हमें काम करने का मन नहीं ना, HR doesn't want to work too. And उसको फर्क नहीं पड़ता, it doesn't make sense for HR, right? उसको it's Shruti and then there's another person, and then there's another one, so it doesn't matter, right? So yep, that's my advice.
So, and I had one more question. You were saying like because I have like quite a bit of experience in the past, and now I'm looking for entry level positions. So they say it becomes a mismatch for the recruiter, like who's actually filtering out the resumes. So how would I make them like convince that like even though I mean I have the right skills for the job, I have this experience in this thing, but I'm looking for an entry level position because like I have the skills required for the
I,
job. Like, how will I
I,
make
yeah,
convince them?
I will come back to what I said. What I meant, if you're looking for a job in the same field that you were, I guess it's always okay to say that you decided to switch the field, and that's what it is. I mean, it's very common. Trust me, it is very common that people
Mm.
who were in technical field, they decide to do an MBA and then they are working as a finance, whatever. You can say the same thing. Said,
Would it be fine to mention that in the resume, like I have experience in this, but I'm looking for a change or looking to switch over to this,
I mean, don't
and
nobody ask you. I mean, here is the
like,
thing is, as I said, don't ask, don't tell. I always like that.
okay, yeah,
अपना कम बोलो, दूसरे को बोलने का मौका दो, so that you know what the person is
but
asking.
mm,
Sometimes what happens, we speak too much and then रायता फैल
yeah,
जाता
I
है.
understand. Yeah, yeah,
That's also not good thing.
yeah,
And anybody can pick anything, right? So
yeah,
they asking a specific question, you answer a specific question. Your answer has to be specific. That's all. I mean, if they ask you, you should be ready. I'm not saying that.
yeah, yeah,
But I would say be honest. Don't make up.
yeah, yeah,
Be very honest and you will be fine. यहाँ पर इस तरह का नहीं है कि I'm really sorry sir because of this. No. And
mm,
don't feel sorry about that. Oh my God, I'm really so sorry. Why did I do? No. It's very specific that I decided that this is not for me, and then I went to do material science and I really liked it, and that's why I'm here. End of the story. लेना है तो लो, ना side से यार.
yeah,
That has to be the attitude and you will be fine. वो
yeah,
कभी वो pity feeling का वो मत होने देना. It's not
yeah,
gonna help.
mm,
Yeah, never.
mm,
It's looked upon very bad.
yeah,
Everybody's gonna say, oh, I'm so sorry, but at the background they're gonna say दूसरा.
yeah.
Yeah. बहुत be specific. I mean, you liked it, you did it. What's wrong with that, right? So that's it.
No, I meant like in the resume. If it goes to the interview, then like I know, like I mean, like I can tell all these things. But for the resume to get paid, like how
As
do
I
I
said, your resume has to be copy.
call?
I
Yeah.
already told you. This
Mm,
is how this is the spot of thing I
yeah.
can tell you. Hey, we are
Okay.
getting out of time, but
Sure.
nice talking to you.
Yeah. Thank you so much for the.
I hope it helps. Okay,
Yeah, it
and you will
really
be
helped.
fine.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Talk to you
Thank you
later.
so
Bye.
much. Thank you. Bye.